I'm going to start today with a very short clip as we go into the topic of the three magi. Ben?
Cologne Cathedral is the largest Gothic building in Northern Europe, and it was built for just one purpose: to house the bones of the three kings. And they're inside this golden shrine, perhaps the only relics of people who actually knew Jesus. I've been in search of the three kings for years. Usually I work with mummies. Relics aren't my thing. But the bones in this shrine are different. They could just be the real deal.
So that's paired to my photography taken on Carl's iPhone in Cologne this past June. This clip is from a Learning Channel documentary called The Mystery of the Three Kings, hosted by Professor Peter Spry Leverton. It's available to see, if you wish, very easily on YouTube in its 49-minute entirety, and it builds an interesting case for the authenticity of the bones of the Magi in Cologne. This German city boasts the largest cathedral in Western Europe. It is dressed inside in conservative gray stone, and it is bejeweled by the stained glass. And there in its doorways, one can see all the way back behind the chancel where there is a large gold box, and it is gold. It's elevated for display. It's surrounded by plexiglass for safety and security, because after all, this massive edifice was built with the intention of honoring the final resting place of the three magi. And the spires outside do not have crosses on them. Instead, they are starbursts in stone, reminding us of the light that the magi followed. And their three skulls rest side by side in golden splendor. Now, relics like this remind me of that balance between what is rational and what is poetry living side by side. Because here in Cologne is an entire city that has built an entire culture, and it has done so all around a massive cathedral, which in turn is built around three skulls asleep at rest from following a star. And if you could actually get behind the box, you will see crowns placed on their skulls. And so who were the Magi? So yesterday was Epiphany, and it was so marked by the 12th night story that you've heard today. The story only appears in the Gospel of Matthew, and in it they are accompanied by a terrible story about infanticide by Herod the king. The slaughter of the innocents is a tale that only exists within the Gospel of Matthew. It is not recorded anywhere else that Herod the king ordered such a slaughter of children. It's not recorded, and there is nowhere else you'll find the account. So they were given names at a later point, because when you attach a proper name to somebody, it makes them more real, more tangible, something you can kind of grasp. And so I grew up, and maybe you did as well, with three kings, and the kings were named Balthazar, Caspar, and Melchior, even though these names do not appear in the Bible. They arrived there at the stable late, but for most of us, we want them to be in time to be there with the shepherds and the angels in adoration. We need them to come out on Christmas Eve. We demand their presence, though truth be told, they were probably way back in Persia packing up and trying to find someone to take care of their cats. The gift of gold and frankincense and myrrh has a real deep symbolic meaning. The gold is a gift that one gives to a king, for Jesus came from the line of David. Frankincense was burned at the temple, and so it is a gift associated with Jesus' priestly role. And myrrh was an oil with which you anointed a dead body before wrapping it in linen, and therefore it is a foreshadowing gift. But the fact is, they were not kings, they were magi. And a magi is from the Zoroastrian priestly class. He's perhaps a magician, but definitely an astronomer. And this puts them most probably in Persia. As Reverend Bill wrote in his newsletter article, they had no names that we know of. They arrived many months later, and we don't know how many there actually were. It does not say there were 3 kings / wise men / magi. Other than that, Matthew got the story pretty much right. Today, the giving of gifts at Christmas is a tradition that comes down from this account. And that giving spirit is so important to the birth narrative. They remind us all to follow. We're here to follow that light. An epiphany is that moment where one achieves realization and awareness or a feeling of knowledge, after which events are seen through the prism of that light. In the journey of the Magi, T.S. Eliot has written poetry such as we've heard so skillfully portrayed today by you, Keith, thank you, in the voice of one of the Magi after they have returned from their journey. The theologian Janice Hunt says, "For what a journey it must have been for those who first followed that star." Eliot imagines it as difficult all the way through from the beginning to the end, and his poem asserts that the challenges did not cease for them once they reached home. And how could it have been simple after that? For they had risked their fortunes and their reputations to travel far, only to have their purposes nearly thwarted and their lives threatened by a paranoid ruler. Epiphany. The Magi had traveled to see royalty, but they rode on and they were led to kneel before a baby born of poor parents in an out-of-the-way burg. They must have had both dreams and nightmares about this particular journey for the rest of their lives as they wondered about where the meaning in this was for them. An epiphany then is for us as well. It is for us to see a new way for the first time and to be changed. And so, be people who want to see the light come in wherever you can make it happen. You are the people who will rise up. You are the people who want to create a new and better world. Process theologian Bruce Epperly writes, "Though many of our leaders claim to be Christian, their Christian ethics seldom go beyond bathroom assignments, wedding cakes, and the right to say Merry Christmas." And so you are the journey, you are the people on the journey to create a new and better narrative about who we are as based on our own faith story and declare that truth over and over and over again, even when Herod rages. From the long sleep together in the cathedral, I think of the dreams of those Magi. I find myself wondering what stirred in their hearts to compel them to risk so much. What deep yearning, bless you, what deep yearning for something other than what they had known led them to travel this far. And I think of them, and when I do, I find myself thinking of all of us, and I wonder about our own journeys taken and what it is that makes such journeys possible or necessary or preferable, even to simply living the life that is here before us in our own grasp. What sign in the sky is there? What communication from the ground of all being would make us go that deep and that far to try to discover its meaning for us in our lives today? Janice Hunt says, "It strikes me that those travelers to Bethlehem were simply living their lives to their natural conclusions, for apparently their life's work was studying the stars. And when they saw the star that seemed to hold such meaning, all they could do, if they were to be true to who they were called to be, was to follow in that direction." And so, having studied the stars and felt the prodding of one particular star to make this incredible journey happen, when they came to the place in which the star led them, they were met there by a new way. And we know this could not have been at all what they expected. And yet all of us, in one way, have been brought to try to discover what is new, what is good, what could be better in our lives. Eliot writes, "All this was a long time ago, I remember, and I would do it again. But set down this, where we led all that way for birth or for death." And it may well have been true, as in T.S. Eliot's estimation, that things were never quite the same for them after that. And perhaps in many ways, not so pleasant either. And all they were doing was what they believed they were made to do. And perhaps this is so for all of us, as we use and develop our own gifts that have been planted within us, as we become all we were made to be with eyes and hearts open. Perhaps we too will encounter God there as well. And in conclusion, Hunt writes, "And so for those who teach, and those who preach, and those who visit, and those who build buildings, and those who nurture children, and those who clean, and those who invent, and those who heal, and those who you can fill in your own blanks. Maybe like those magi from so long ago, our first calling is to simply be who we are made to be, but remind ourselves that when we make ourselves what we are made to be, we need to be doing it every day more fully. And then to keep our eyes and ears and hearts open to what we are called to step out and do in faith, somehow taking those gifts of God to their natural conclusions. Those times will come to us all, and that is for sure. But when they do, it's also a sure thing that we will encounter Spirit, perhaps in unexpected ways and unexpected places as well. And it's certain that our lives will never be the same again. And so Epiphany is for us. It is for us to see a new way for the first time, and to be changed, and to want to change, and to accept those changes along the way. You are the ones who will see the light, to see a new way for the first time, and to be changed by it as well. You are the ones who see the light rise up and create a new world over and over again. Amen. I'd like to ask Pastor Sarah to come up now with me. This is an open table, and whoever you are and wherever you are on your faith journey, you are welcome here.